Hello, rainbow-colored beings of light. Today, we are moving into the Wavespell of the White Wind. In case you're new here, I am Andra, and through these videos we are looking into the structure, codes, and philosophy of the Dreamspell calendar, an organic calendar system based on the ancient Mayan calendar that helps us reconnect with the natural cycles of time. To get on track with what we're exploring in today's video, you might want to check out the videos, the structure of the Tzolk'in, and also the video, the structure of Wavespells, to understand what they are. The Wavespell of the White Wind looks like this, and you can see from its wave-like structure why it's called a Wavespell. And we're advancing through the solar seals from the white magnetic wind to the white cosmic wizard. White wind is the great spirit, the divine father, God, or however we want to call this energy that is the unseen essence within everything. His Mayan name is Ik. Because he connects us with the spirit within all creation, he reaches down within to help us explore our relationship with the sacred, with the divine. Looking at the world, we can kind of see how many people, through the pursuit of science and rationality, have kind of turned their back on the sacredness of life, leading to a life which seems to lack meaning and depth. Obviously, religion as an institution played a part in all of this, twisting the words of its prophets and their truth for the interest and the benefit of a few, trying to dominate and rule people through fear. So it's no wonder people kind of turned their back on God as he is portrayed by the church. But God is so much more than a long-bearded being sitting up in the clouds judging us. And lately I've actually been hearing about a lot of scientific researches that are directed towards spirituality. And even quantum physics itself seems to lead into the direction of God rather than denying its existence. But many people are still using science in order to dismiss the existence of a higher divine force, though science and spirituality can in fact complement each other beautifully, and they need one another to make up a whole. But I'm getting a little sidetracked here. The idea that I wanted to highlight was the fact that we kind of tend to idolize rationality as the answer to all the problems of the world. But is it? Because life itself is beyond the rational many times. And when we dedicate our life to the pursuit of the rational, this means that a big part of our being and attention is directed towards the things we can see, measure, quantify, and know to be true. Rationality by itself can actually keep us trapped in a limited perception that confines us to this 3D reality, keeping us from taking a peek into what is beyond it. Even the white wind embodies an energy that cannot be understood by the rational and logical mind. It can only be directly felt and experienced because it represents the mystery of life itself. So this archetype comes to take us on a journey beyond the rational, beyond what we know to be true and real, to discover and understand that invisible forces are always moving through our life, that there is a higher force at play guiding and inspiring us on our journey. He teaches us how to connect with the spiritual aspects of life and how to open up to experience the sacredness of life. Because genuine spirituality isn't separated from our everyday life. On the contrary, life itself is a spiritual journey, a quest to gain a deeper meaning about life. And White Wind helps us awaken to the understanding that there's so much more to life and the world than we have been taught it is. For me, my journey with the Dreamspell calendar actually began on a white planetary wind day, on the last day of the blue spectral storm year in 2017. And I was in my blue planetary monkey year, in the Wavespell of the White Wind. And let me just say that on that white planetary wind day, while exploring the psychedelic realm, if you know what I mean, I had one of the most profound spiritual experiences ever, where I was talking to my higher self in a way that I never have before. It was actually speaking to me in a way that I could tell its voice apart from my own thoughts, crystal clear, as if I was listening to another person speak. And after an internal dialogue of hours, I ended up making the difficult decision to leave the relationship I was in at the time, which not only opened the door for me to heal a deep wounding running through my family's lineage, but it's also the very experience that made me understand that I need to learn what the Dreamspell calendar is all about. I won't go into detail about this because there would be a lot of explaining to do in order for you guys to get the context of that experience, but let's just say that my higher self spoke to me in the codes of the Dreamspell calendar. And this was back in a time when my understanding of the calendar was extremely basic. And that experience was, for me, one of the most profound spiritual experiences I've ever had up until this day, that gave a completely new direction to my life. And this is exactly what the White Wind does. He comes into our life in order to uplift us, to purify, to inspire us, and to make us change the course of our life in order to better align with our soul's purpose and mission. His energy comes to set in motion anything that has become stationary or stagnant. And this is because he represents the movement of life and spirit, the catalyzing current that moves through everything, just as the wind that is always moving and can change its direction whenever it chooses to. He asks us to listen to the calling of the wind that calls us to surrender to its power and let go of our resistances so that we can connect with our divine self. And this is why this archetype comes after the red moon, that is the initiation into self-remembrance, because White Wind refines that initiation in order to include higher dimensions of consciousness into our awareness. And this is because White Wind carries a really high vibration of consciousness, since he is connected to the wisdom of the Great Spirit itself. He reminds us that there is an unbreakable link between ourselves and the divine consciousness of the Great Spirit. So this archetype asks us to move and act from this higher level of consciousness that dwells inside of our own being, asking us to surrender to our soul's wisdom. And it invites us to integrate the totality of who we are in the present moment. Obviously, in the shadows, White Wind ends up disconnecting from his inner divinity because he chooses to reject himself and his gifts. This happens because he is connected to such a high level of vibration, and because of all of the inner movement and the fact that the White Wind is always shifting and changing its personality, he ends up being misunderstood by people around him, feeling as if he doesn't speak the same language as the rest of the world, as if he doesn't belong here. And this feeling of not belonging creates a lot of fears in him. So he begins observing others to learn how to behave and act in this world. And because most people in this world have dismissed the existence of other more subtle dimensions, he can even start to look at his spiritual potential as something negative, even dangerous, because it makes him different from other people, separating him from others. When this happens, the root chakra gets damaged, which makes it very difficult for the white wind to ground itself. And he kind of needs a lot of grounding because of all of the movement. Not only that, but his self-worth, self-esteem, and self-love get affected. And he loses complete awareness of the deep wisdom he carries within. White wind becomes afraid of his inner nature and develops a very rational mind to protect himself from rejection and to separate himself from his inner divinity. To get out of this shadow, he needs to completely surrender to his inner wisdom and to remember and honor his connection to the Great Spirit. Also, he needs to accept to follow his inner voice in order to begin walking his spiritual path and to stop judging all his inner movement as something negative. But especially, he needs to let go of his rigid mentality. Because if we want to connect with the spiritual realms, we need to allow all of our old and limiting beliefs to be shaken up, all our understandings about the world. And we can only begin to really understand the world once we open up to recognize and see that God is indeed present within everything in this universe, within each and every one of us, but under billions and billions of different masks and shapes. Which is why White Wind comes to connect us to a universal reality where everything is already one. He helps us tear away the veil, which keeps us from seeing the unity within all things. He also represents the divine breath of life that gives life to all creation, and because of this, all we need to do in order to receive the gifts of the white wind is to simply take a conscious breath. Did you know that on average a human being takes over 20,000 breaths per day? And how many of those breaths are we actually aware of in this world of distractions? Not to mention how disconnected we are from the physical body, which is exactly why breathing consciously can give us the opportunity to check in with our body. By breathing consciously, we place our awareness on the breath. We embody the breath we are taking. It can aid us in achieving a sense of calm and presence so that we can engage more profoundly with life. Also, conscious breathing can help us better navigate our thoughts, our emotions, and our experiences. So, in the middle of life's complex unfoldings, always remember to pause and take a conscious breath and open up your eyes to the wonder and the magic of this world. And as we keep breathing, we can use our breath as an anchor to anchor ourselves in the present moment. Because when we're present, that's when we can truly and mindfully listen to another person, and we can communicate from the heart rather than the mind that keeps rationalizing too much about what is an appropriate response and what might not be. That's why on the glyph of the white wind, we see like a tongue sticking out, because white wind represents communication. And when we are truly present, we become like a clear channel through which our soul and even the great spirits can communicate with the outside world. So by letting go of the mind and communicating from the heart, we can connect with the soul of another person and speak directly to it. So during these 13 days, breathe. Breathe as consciously as you can. And notice all of the inner movement that might be generated within you during this period of time. It might actually be a time when things get accelerated, or nothing is actually going according to plan, because the wind is always shifting and moving and changing its direction. So things in our life can do the same way. I've actually noticed that on white wind days it's kind of difficult to plan things because nothing actually goes the way we plan it. We need to embrace our spontaneity. But ask yourself during this wave spell, what is your relationship with the divine, with the spiritual and invisible aspects of life? Is your rational mind confining you to a limited perception of reality? Are you allowing your soul to move you, or are you stuck resisting change? Are you able to change the direction of your life the moment you feel your soul calling you to do so? What can you do to begin manifesting your spiritual wisdom so that you can inspire and uplift others? Are you communicating from the heart, or are you stuck in the mind, always thinking about what to say, which means that you're not actually listening? So that's kind of it for today. If you have any questions about the Dreamspell calendar, or for decoding your galactic signature, or for ordering one of the Dreamspell Organite pendants, handmade with lots of love, you can contact me either on my Facebook page, my Instagram, or my email. Also, if you want a behind-the-scenes peek into the process behind these pendants, you can watch the video Dreamspell Organite Pendants. Until the next time, wishing you a divine wave spell, and I will see you on the blue magnetic eagle. In Lak'Ech.